Well, the PULC has indicated by July, all things being equal, tariffs, that's electricity and water, will be reviewed. Now, the ECG is asking for 148%. Ghana Water Company is asking for 334% increase in the tariffs that you and I are paying now. They're continuing their engagements. But the latest inflation figures in the country released by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that a lot needs to be done to control high prices and cost of living. Inflation for April hit 23.6%, which is an increase of 4.2% thereabout of what we recorded in March. Also soaring is food inflation, which is seen highest in the Upper West region, reaching 38.5% and an increase of 5% from March. So, Portia and the viewers, clearly, if you follow what the Ghana Statistical Service put out earlier today, it's quite worrying, concerning indeed, because what you look at here, 23.6%, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, is an increase of about 4.2% what we recorded in March 2022. March 2022 was 19.4%. Today, look at this, 23.6%. This is as at April 2022. This is the highest in 18 years, as a matter of fact, the highest inflation in 18 years that we've posted. Now, these are the contributing factors. Transportation, 33.5%. You remember in February this year, transport fares went up by some 15%. That is what led to this particular transport increase of about 33.5%. You also see household equipment and maintenance going up at 28.5%. Food and non-alcoholic beverages. I'm going to drill down this 26.6% as we go on so you understand how food inflation has contributed to the overall inflation of 23.6%. That should be quite worrying. Housing, water, electricity, gas, also 25%. It went up as against what we recorded in March last year. Bear in mind, this is as at April 2022. Housing, water, electricity, gas went up and to 25%. What we're expecting is that PULC will approve some proposals by ECG and Ghana Water to have their tariffs increased. What that means is, all things being equal, going forward, the inflation rates will go high if the water and electricity tariffs also go high, because they haven't gone high as yet. Water and electricity haven't been increased, but we've seen a 25%. Now look at this, the regional inflation breakdown. The highest inflation was recorded in the central region, 26.7%. The lowest regional inflation was in the Upper East region, some 18.4%. Now, if you compare this to what we recorded in March, the Bono region, which is described as the food basket of the nation, recorded the highest inflation. So questions were asked as to how that is directly impacting on the price of foodstuff on the market. Now, take a look at this. The third is where we are drilling down to areas relating to the non-food inflation. So there's the food inflation, which we're going to be looking at exactly how the price of foodstuff on the market contributed to inflation, and the non-food inflation. The Greater Accra region recorded the highest non-food inflation. And when we are talking about non-food, we're talking about transport, housing, household equipment, maintenance, clothing and footwear, information and communications, education services, health. All of this, the Greater Accra region recorded the highest. And the lowest non-food inflation was recorded in the Upper West region with some 9.6%. What you should know, as a matter of fact, is that with this 20% increase in transport fares that took effect on Saturday, has not been factored in here. So the next month inflation, which the Ghana Statistical Service is going to release, which is going to be the May inflation, would obviously go high because it hasn't taken into consideration this 20% increase in transport fares over the weekend. Here is the food inflation. And that's where you should know that if you go onto the market, Portia, with the 100 cedis now to buy tomatoes, if you got four tomatoes for 100 cedis, now if you go onto the market, you're going to be getting like 3 or 2. That is the consequential effect of this inflation increase. Highest food inflation was recorded in the Upper West region, 38.5%, and the lowest inflation in the Upper East region, 18.1%. So if you're watching, look, forget the figures if you want to. What this means is that the value of your money you're holding has reduced, and you will not be able to purchase as much as you used to.
From food prices to transport fares, inflation affecting everything. Well, the increase in inflation figures to 23.6% has been described as a reflection of price pressures being recorded within the economy, from transport fares to food prices. A senior economist with DataBank says individuals should brace up for more price pressures in the next 2 months.
The many other price pressures we've seen on the market are largely the reasons why we are seeing inflation rise to where it is now. I think at 23.6%, we are approaching the peak of it, while I admit that there are two opposing forces to it now. From June, we should see base effects, a favorable base effect starting to pull inflation down, but it will not be too significant. And then on the other hand, the petroleum price pressures are still there. The food price shocks are still there, and they might continue to drive upward pressures in inflation, really. So it looks like for the next few months or so, we'll have to be in this cycle for a while before we start seeing inflation decelerate down to towards the target digits, really. But it will not be enough to see inflation within the target band by end of year.